Hello, and welcome to the podcast, Your Biz Story. This is Tom Sabo, your host. Your Biz Story examines small business in Northeast Ohio. You'll meet the owner, learn about the business products and services offered, how the business got started, the challenges a business owner faces, and many other aspects of running a small business. Whether you're a consumer, business owner, or have thought about opening a business, you'll thoroughly enjoy today's podcast. Hello, and welcome to Your Biz Story. This is the podcast where we talk to local business owners here in Northeast Ohio to learn more about the ins and the outs and the workings of their business. Um, I'm your host, Tom Sabo, and we're going to talk to Patrick Foss about the services and products he offers, how he acquired or started the business, and then we're also going to talk about um, maybe some anecdotal stories that happen to pop up. So let me tell you a little bit about Patrick. He's a local boy. He was from Mentor, Ohio, graduated from Mentor High School in 1985, and he spent 12 years as a carpenter. I guess you might want to call him Finnish carpenter, maybe?
Finnish carpenter.
Okay.
Fair.
All right. In 1997, he decided to go out on his own and he started Precision Woodwork. And it started off with a friend of his in a garage, typical story. And they had a couple of buildings in the interim that they rented. And then in 2007, he moved to a building in Painesville, which is his current location, and you own the business, or the building, I mean, correct?
Yes.
All righty. Patrick, one of the things I really enjoy doing this is finding out people's hobbies. And Patrick likes to make pizza. And I don't think he's having a hard time finding people to sample for him. He also enjoys scuba diving and riding motorcycles. He is married to Linda, and they have their son Ben and Amber. So, Patrick, welcome to Your Biz Story.
Thanks, Tom.
So, tell us about Precision Woodwork. What are either the products or services that you provide to your customers?
So we do woodworking in general. We do remodeling. We do, the best way to put it is we do anything that involves wood. We repair it, we restore it, we build new, we custom make new components for things. We'll repurpose furniture to be something else.
Okay.
We'll repair dog chews. We'll install.
You'll repair.
Well, like dogs are our best customers. Actually, when they chew furniture, we got to do the repairs on them.
Okay.
So it works out really nice. We do general trim work, handrails, custom cabinets, mantles, pretty much anything out of wood we do.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, what equipment or tools or what, because is this the guy with a handheld saber saw and a handheld circular saw, or what kind of equipment are you using?
Well, it certainly used to be when we started out. Basically we were just two guys with our truck full of tools. And over time, as the business has grown, we've acquired a shop, and then we acquired machinery, sanding machines, table saws, just bigger equipment. And then later I was able to invest in a spray booth. So now we can do all our own finishing and everything.
Okay. Are you using any type of CNC equipment?
No, not
Okay.
really. I
Okay.
do have a small entry level CNC that I've dabbled with to try to
Okay.
keep up with the times,
I didn't know if you had to do any like complex shapes or anything like that.
We do them
So,
all by hand
okay.
still. I mean, the nice thing about this trade is it's literally thousands of years old since man started, and it hasn't changed very much other than the introduction of CNCs and
Hmm.
maybe more modern ways to cut the wood.
Okay.
But it predominantly it's all still the same. We still use dovetail joints on drawer boxes, and pretty much all the joinery is the same.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay.
So, yeah,
Um, and how many employees do you have working there now?
I currently have three guys in the shop and the job sites, and then my daughter works in the office.
Okay.
And my wife and I are partners in the business, actually.
Yeah.
So she
Okay.
comes in and does payroll.
Good.
Hmm.
Good. Um, so how did you get started?
Well, I think I got started like most guys in the trades get started. You work on your skill and your trade, and you get good at it. And for some of us, it's just starting your own business tends to be the next step.
Hmm.
And that's what I did. And no real college education or anything, and I've made it work for almost going on 40 years now.
Well,
So
that says something right there.
yeah, I was able to somehow keep it afloat. But I mean, like most guys in my situation, um, we omitted college and got into the trades right out of high school. So, it probably would have benefited me to have at least a couple of business classes to understand how a business works, but I have been able to keep it afloat, and I might not have done all the right things, but keeping your customers happy, doing good work is half the battle.
You mentioned a couple of business courses might have been helpful. Looking back now, what when it came to your education, what and the business side of things, what would you have done different?
Hmm. I might have taken a college class, or at least a
Hmm.
community college class on business, but I mean, I've pretty much structured my life to be a carpenter ever since grade school. I exhausted every woodworking class there was to take through the
Yeah.
Mentor school system. I took strong math classes, geometry, because I knew I would need that,
Yeah.
in my, future occupation. Um, I did become a framing. I didn't realize how many faucets of carpentry there actually was. When I first got out of school, I just thought a carpenter was, those golden bodied gods that walked on roofs of houses, carrying 2x4s. But, for me, I quickly realized that doing framing was not a good career for me because the weather dictated a lot of your paychecks.
Sure.
Let's just put it that way. And then I got introduced to finish carpentry, which is all of the interior woodworking parts of my trade, like crown molding and all of that. And that's what I fell in love with, because now I could work 40 plus hours a week.
Hmm.
I can,
Hmm.
and I enjoyed the work. It was more tedious.
Would you say that what you're doing is more of an art form
Mm,
as opposed to scribing a line and cutting on the line, so to speak?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of artistic value in what we do. I get a lot of customers, trust me to do their designs. And a lot of times I'll incorporate my own thoughts and ideas based on what is around my client's home,
Mm-hmm.
try to pull details from other parts of the house and incorporate it into an entertainment center or a bar
Mm-hmm.
or maybe even a staircase, you know. But yeah. Hmm.
Okay. Um, I'm going to guess that you have to spend some time with your customer to kind of learn who they are and what they like and
Yeah.
what in terms of what they want.
Absolutely. Um, yeah, so I do spend a lot of time. My daughter says I probably spend a little too much time with my clients, but um, but I think it's important that they know who I am and where I'm coming from.
Mhm.
I don't want to be that contractor that just comes into your house and looks at your job 5-10 minutes and I'm out the door to the next one. I do spend a lot of time, talking about myself and learning about my clients as
Okay.
well. And that helps with the
Sure.
design part of it too.
Sure. How much of your work is new construction versus renovation, let's say?
Most of our work now is renovation. When I first started my career, we did a lot of new construction. So I was literally going every 2 weeks to another house. When we got to that house, we would do everything. We would install all the cabinetry, all the doors, all the baseboard, all the casing, crown mold, handrails, mantles. Every 2 weeks, we did it over and over and over again. So I got very, very good at my trade because, you know,
You
I,
had repetition.
I had repetition, absolutely. So I think that's what helped me jump into starting my own business
Okay.
because I did get really good at it, and it just felt like the next natural step. It was scary though, I ain't gonna lie.
I'll bet.
you know, you
I'll
know,
bet.
you go from a 40-hour week to now you got to go out and hunt for your food, so to speak, and it
Sometimes literally, huh?
literally
I mean,
literally, if you're not getting a job, you might not have a paycheck that week. So in the beginning, when I was young, it was a little harder because people didn't, they see this young person walk into their house and they're proposing a very complex handrail system or multi-member crown molding, and they look at a young person and they go,
yeah.
you know,
I really wonder, huh?
so it would be like having a 28-year-old heart surgeon work on your heart. You know what I mean? But as I've gotten older, the work has been more and more and more abundant. Partially because of my age, but I think a lot of it is just because back in the day when I started my business and when I was in high school, they weren't pushing kids to go into the trades. They were, pushing everybody to go into college.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Mm-hmm.
some of us are just simply meant to be in the trades. And of course, we need trades, right? So now they are starting to create more and more trade schools.
Yeah.
So I have hope. And because of the lack of trade schools, it's also been very difficult to hire people.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I want to touch on that in a little bit, but going back to new construction versus renovation. So the bulk of your work is renovation.
correct.
Okay.
And custom work.
Okay. Give us an example of that custom work.
Custom work, like so, I got all kinds of pictures I could show you, but like for example, I had a customer come in with a light off of a PT boat, a military boat,
Mm-hmm.
and he wanted to make this light adaptable so that he can use it on his desk at home. So we had to make a nice wooden base for this light. So that would be an example of something custom. So we're adding to an antique.
Okay.
Or it could simply be you want a mantle that looks a certain way. You know, you want it bright red, and you can't find one out there that's bright red.
Right.
We can do that. We had all kinds of interesting handrail jobs, crown molding, custom cabinets. Your
Touch on the custom cabinet side of things for a little bit, because you mentioned the light, you mentioned the mantle. Those sound like kind of smaller jobs, but then now you're talking about custom kitchens.
yeah.
Take us into that.
So custom kitchens are they're not for everybody because they can be a little pricey. But if you have a smaller home and you're looking to squeeze every square inch you can out of your kitchen, that's where a custom kitchen's going to be perfect for you, because the standard cabinets that come out of the factory are usually made in 3-inch increments. So you go from, like, let's say a 9-inch cabinet to a 12 or a 15 or
Okay.
an 18, where I don't have those limitations. I can make my cabinet to the 16th. We don't have standard sizes. So we can accommodate every square inch of your kitchen for storage, which is what benefits you in a smaller kitchen.
Yeah. Now, if we're talking about like a kitchen renovation like that, what about things like countertops, sinks, faucets? I mean, do you get into that, or do you work with someone on the outside for that?
We do. We work with other people.
Okay.
So, I always believe that, you want to get the right trade for the right job.
Yeah.
We aren't the masters of everything. We're the masters of one thing, and I get the appropriate people to do the rest. Like plumbers, granite guys, tile guys, will utilize other trades.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, then you would probably have to also act as a project manager.
Yeah, we do that.
To make sure that everybody's coming in at the right point in time. Because you don't want a plumber coming in if you've got your cabinets installed, right? I mean,
right. Yeah, we do have to choreograph all that with the trades.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. What are some of the challenges that you face? And it could be, your challenges could be something today or something that you see in the future that you're going to have to come to grips with.
So challenges, I guess, it would be, so in the trades, we kind of master our trade, and some of us will venture off into starting our own business. But what we don't foresee is the fact that the business itself is going to take us away from our trade. You know what I mean? So, like, I started out as a carpenter, and that's what I really love to do. I love, doing the physical work. But once you start growing and you start accumulating more employees and you have multiple jobs going on, you tend to become more of a manager,
Yes.
like I wear a lot of hats. I'm a manager, I'm a designer, I'm a salesman, and I in between I try to be a carpenter, I'm helping out where I can. So I think that's one of the biggest shockers for me when I started my business, is I didn't realize it would actually take me away from what I truly love to do, which is the woodworking part of it, but.
So it sounds like you may have to at some point start a woodworking hobby in order to
Yeah.
in order to get back to doing what you love.
Yes, that the 100%. I always enjoy when my daughter wants something made, because it means I'm going to get back into the shop, and I don't just do it for her. I always make my daughter be involved with the building process of things. So.
Okay. What do you see happening in the future? I mean, for example, there's everybody's talking about AI now, artificial intelligence. I kind of want to think that you guys are a little bit, I'll say, immune to that, so to speak, because they're not gonna find AI that can pick up a tool and start to work on wood and cut wood and carve it and do the things that you need to do.
Yeah, the CNCs are kind of like that, but you still need people to load it and design it and everything. Where AI has helped us is when we take a picture of a wall and the
Hmm.
customer wants a particular something, AI is amazing at completing the finished project in a picture form. So
Hmm.
for customers that aren't very visual people, um, I don't have to sit down and create a whole design. I can ask AI to create the image for me, and AI will present that. And if it's something the customer doesn't like, then we'll just go another round with another picture until we hit what they want. And that helps make my job a little easier
Yeah.
because now I can design exactly what they want instead of going through two or three different designs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that AI has worked great for that, but I don't see AI taking over our physical part of the work at all. I mean, we have done this skill for thousands of years.
Yeah.
It hasn't changed very much in the thousands of years. Not like the medical field and other things like that.
Yeah.
Ours has stayed pretty simple.
Okay. You touched on finding employees.
Hmm.
He says. Talk about that a little bit.
That's always tough. It's really hard to find people right now because there's just not a lot of people in our trade. Like I said, most kids in my generation were pushed to go to college. So there wasn't a lot of kids that made it into the trade. So the as companies retire or go out of business, there's few companies coming back into their place. So there's less and less of us. And we have become very, very busy. I mean,
I heard a statistic that said that for every five retirees out of the skilled trades, there are maybe three to fill those positions.
I would believe it. I would believe
So
it.
that eventually that gap in terms of what's available and what you're losing is going to widen and widen and widen.
Hmm.
And what are you hearing about that? I mean, are you is in terms of either trade associations or
Hmm.
vendors or what have you? I mean, how's that going to impact your business?
Well, I mean, I do want to retire one day, and I'm hoping to sell my business. But I think what I've seen lately is a lot of trade schools have been popping up all over the place,
Hmm.
like Auburn Career Center, but there's a lot more of them popping up all over. So this is a good thing because I think it's going to, in another 8 to 10 years when I retire, I'm hoping that there's going to be a whole nother generation coming into the trades that might be interested in buying a business. you know,
Yeah.
so yeah, that's what I see. I think things are going to start getting better for the trades simply because so many trade schools are popping up.
You mentioned Auburn Career Center, and you talk about one of our county's great assets,
Hmm.
a real hidden gem. Then it sounded like you were talking about other schools coming into the picture. Are
Hmm.
there any here locally that you know of?
I can't recall the names of them, but yeah, there's one that opened up in Wickliffe, Willoughby,
Okay.
91 and 20, right over there. There's one. I donated one of my machines to another school out in Bedford, I believe it was.
Okay.
So they're out there and they're popping up more and more.
Have you heard anything from the high schools bringing back things like shop class and woodworking class and
Mm,
things like that?
they've some of the high schools have had some programs over the years, and they've sent kids my way that
Hmm.
maybe weren't academically gifted. Um, to try, like they would let them go to different companies to try different trades, different skills. Some kids went to wood shops like mine. Some kids went to automotive shops,
Yeah.
boys and girls, you know.
I think if you talk to any business owner, any manager, you're going to find that they have people on their staff that have this group of talents, and then there's these over here have another batch of talent, because everybody's a little different. In terms of carpenters that you might hire, what kind of, I want to say, what kind of skills would you look for, or what kind of abilities would you look for in someone like that?
It's interesting. So I made a little test up years ago, so that I learned early on that there are basically two types of workers, right? You have the person that will fully think out a project before they start it.
Okay.
They'll build it in their head before they start, and then there's other guys that will jump right into it and start working, and they may encounter a problem down the road, kind of like the tortoise and the hare. The thinker's going to be more like the tortoise. He's
Okay.
going to start off slow, and but because he thought the project out in his head, he's already worked out all of the kinks and all of the
Okay.
problems, so he won't have any of those issues. Where the guy who jumps right into it may run into a problem, and he'll have to stop and figure it out or reconstruct what he did, tear it apart maybe. So I designed a test that I give everybody who applies with our company, and the questions in that test help me figure out if this person is somebody who's a thinker or somebody who's a doer.
Okay.
And that helps me out a lot. But I look for people who are just going to take pride in their work, people who are going to be polite and treat my clients respectful, and as well as their home when we're working in their home. Um, and it's not always easy to find the right people.
Yeah.
I'm always trying to find that golden goose, and
So going back to the tortoise and hare analogy, would you say that one is better than the other, or having both means you have to understand how both of them work and lead them accordingly?
Right. That's really what it is. I like a group of different thinkers and doers. You know what I mean? Because that makes me more, what's the word I'm looking for? It just makes me more capable of doing more things, because when we sit down to try to figure out a complicated project, like sometimes we'll get involved in secret doors and cabinets and stuff with secret panels. So sometimes we have to engineer that, and we have to sit down and discuss it. And it's nice to have different thoughts. You know what I mean? It helps us figure things out a little easier.
And I've always found that talking amongst your staff somebody will pitch out an idea that may trigger you to come up with either an extension of that or some takeoff on that I may not have thought about had that person not thrown out that idea.
Well, that happens all the time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All the time.
So having that little bit of, let's say, diverse character in your staff is probably a good thing.
Yeah, and different skill sets. I mean, some guys are better at handrails and staircases.
Okay.
Other guys are better at cabinets. I mean, we're all good at everything, but some things we excel at, and I need to use each of those guys' skills appropriately for that particular job. So it's nice to be a little more diverse that way.
Have you seen where any of your any of your staff where you mentioned the handrail person, the cabinet guy, where by those two working together, now the cabinet guy is starting to think a little bit or incorporate some of the handrail guy's techniques
Hmm.
into his cabinet work.
We all learn from each other.
Yeah.
We do. And, the tools, we all have different tools. Some of us who have been around a while have a little more tools than most, but also tools come and go. And somebody designs a really awesome tool. And if that tool, let's say for instance, I have a tool that I had made for me, and it's a square that puts a square line on radiuses, inside and outside radiuses.
Okay.
So it's kind of more of a specialty tool.
Yeah.
And those tools that came out by Stanley and different companies in the past, they don't tend to last long because there's not enough of us buying them to keep them in business. So they go out, and then you can't find this tool anymore. So I always tell my guys, when you find a tool that you really like, you have to buy it now, because tomorrow it'll be off of the shelf.
Yeah. Be out of the catalog, so to speak.
And I've had that happen many, many times.
Yeah. What other things would you like to say about your business that we perhaps may not have talked about, or that didn't fall into the little list of questions that I asked you?
I would say, as a career overall, I think it's a great career, especially if you're somebody who takes a lot of pride in what you do.
Mm-hmm.
I think you'll get a lot of enjoyment out of this type of career. If I was talking to a young person right now, I would tell them not to think twice. It's given me a good life. I have no regrets going through my life. Even sometimes I have the regrets about starting the business. I'm very jealous of my employees who get to do the work every day. But it's starting a business is a give and take.
Yeah.
It does have a lot of good along with sometimes the bad.
You probably don't pull into the office at 8:30 and leave like at 3:30 anymore, do you?
No. You literally work twice the many hours and for half of the pay. There's a lot of truth in that. Absolutely.
All right. Patrick, I want to thank you for coming in.
Absolutely, Tom. My pleasure.
I think we were able to show a little bit about why you handle things in your business the way you do, and what people may not have known about what you do to appreciate what you do, and even to the point of why they pay what they pay out of that. So I think that's helpful. So I want to thank you for coming in. I appreciate it. For those of you who wish to get in touch with Patrick because maybe you want to learn more about woodworking as a career, or maybe you have a project at home that you'd like him to take a look at, you can learn more at precisionwoodwork.net. That's Patrick's website. They're located at 321 Newell Street in Painesville, or you can call them at 440-257-3002. So I would encourage our listeners out there to keep Patrick in the back of your mind, and when the opportunity comes, give him a call to help you out on your project. And if I have a feeling that if you wanted to talk to him about career choices in the woodworking industry, that he probably would be more than happy to talk to you. And so get in touch with him and help keep supporting his business and his efforts. If you are interested in other episodes such as this one, please go to tom-sabo.com/podcast. And we are available on the major streaming platforms such as Spotify, Pandora, Apple, and others. Check us out there. So again, credit to Patrick at precisionwoodwork.net. And I want to especially thank the Madison Library for hosting us. And you can learn more about the Madison Library at madison-library.info. And I always say not .com, not .org, but .info. All righty. Thanks a lot. Hope you enjoyed. And stay tuned and come back and hear more. Thank you.